What we want to talk about, as well as sharing your stories of how you're going to be celebrating, is how many people actually know and understand the true meaning of Diwali. What's most important to you? Is it the dressing up? Is it the gifts? Is it the food? Or is it actually the visiting of the place of worship? With lots of companies and adverts also capitalizing on the festival, we're asking, has Diwali become too commercialized? Here with me to discuss this is author Sonal Sachdev Patel, Hindu priest Sundar Madhava Das, and parent Anup with his 11-year-old son Aryan, who goes to the Avanti House Hare Krishna School in Leicester. Good morning to you all. How are you?
Hi,
Good morning. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali. Anup, let's come to you first of all. How are you celebrating then with Aryan?
Oh, we have started our day very nicely. I booked half day off from work and we did worship at home. And yes, so we are in the BBC Leicester studio now celebrating Diwali with you guys.
Yeah. So we've got Sonal and Sundar here, but we've also got Anup, you with Aryan over in our BBC Leicester studios. So I said, how are you celebrating? And you mentioned worship straight away. Is that something that you feel many others do as well and put as a priority? Or do you think that's something that's being lost?
No, everyone celebrates in their different way. The way I try to give in the morning for the worship purpose, and then in the evening it becomes completely social. So we meet the family and friends, we distribute the sweets, we go around and see people whom we don't see in the daily struggle of life. So this is for us to just like social, more social, and at the top it's the religious festivals as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And what do you tell Aryan about all of this? How important is it to teach him and others about the meaning of Diwali and where it comes from?
I have explained him years and years that Diwali is the festival of hope. It's a very good festival to tackle the mental health, what we talk about every day in our day-to-day life. So these festivals are the very good tools to mix with the people, to share our thoughts, to share our happiness, and to see the people whom we don't see in a day-to-day life. So it's like a festival of hope and happiness. That is message what Diwali gives us on a day-to-day basis.
Fantastic. Anup, stay there for a moment with Aryan as well. We're definitely going to have a little chat to you, Aryan, if you don't mind. But here in the studio, let's come to you guys, you both. Sonal, are you worried at all about how Diwali's being viewed or how it's going to go in future generations at all?
I'm not worried, but I think that it's important that we have access to understanding what the meaning is behind Diwali. I mean, Anup and Aryan, I think, attend Avanti school, so they're immersed in that culture. But I have two daughters and they go to a mainstream school. And if it wasn't for the fact that we're really emphasising Diwali at home, they could easily go through life not really having Diwali marked. And I think it's important for us to help the next generation think beyond not just that this is the story of Ram and Sita coming home from the jungle, but what does that actually mean? How is that relevant to your life? And what are some of the universal messages that sit behind our Hindu stories that are applicable for everybody? And I think it's wonderful to see the interest that other people, non-Hindus even, are taking in Diwali. And that's where the commercial aspect is actually helpful, because it's on their radar then Diwali's happening.
Yes. Sundar, would you agree with that? Do you think that true meaning and the fundamentals and what people can take away is perhaps being lost?
I think it is, if I'm honest. I mean, I was performing a wedding ceremony and a lady came up to me and she goes, I asked my child, this was last year, she goes, I asked my child, why do we celebrate Diwali? He was 11-year-old. And his reply was, I don't know. And she goes, well, okay, well, what do Hindus do? And his reply was, actually, we drink lots of beer. And this was coming from an 11-year-old. And I think, of course, that's not for the whole of the Hindu community, but little things like this really get me thinking that actually, yeah, we probably have lost slightly the real meaning of Diwali. Now, it is about food, it is about dressing up, there is that social aspect to it, but my point is that if it only becomes about the social aspect at the expense of the spiritual aspect, to understand about the activities of Lord Ram and so forth, and the messages from his life that we can apply in our day, in our life, then it is becoming slightly watered down.
What do you guys make of what our guests have been saying there, whether it's Sundar and Sonal or Anup there? Do you think the message, do you think the stories are being lost to younger generations? Get in touch with me, 81869. Give us a ring, 03459 440 445. Anup, you've been listening to Sonal and Sundar there, talking a little bit about the stories perhaps being a little bit lost, but then at the same time appreciating the need for commerciality because it sort of opens up that narrative to others. So we're seeing lots of things like Diwali adverts in shops now. We've seen that commercial aspect, so many gifts and cards being shared. Is that something that you think is a positive at all?
Yeah, definitely it's a positive sign when you see the buzzing day streets and people are coming out and doing the window shopping or doing the actual shopping. It's good for the economy. It's good for the everybody who is in the supply chain. It's good for the manufacturers. So that has been a motive for the festivals long time back, that these festivals are going to support each section of the society, bring some happiness, circulate the money in the society, that like people are spending the money. So that's definitely a good thing.
You're smiling there. You don't think that's the case? Do you think are you being a bit cynical about it?
No, I was thinking spoken like a true Indian.
Yeah.
The economy fact.
Yeah. but is there that side of things that, people could just cash in here off Diwali? Is that what you're thinking?
No, I think it's a two-sided coin. I think it's all about balance. It's not about any of us kind of going to the forest and reliving, Ram's life. It's about what can we take away in our daily life that's relevant to us, that can help us through. And, I would agree with Sundarji where he's saying if it gets to the point where all it is about drinking beer and shopping, then it's sad. But if we can bring both aspects, it's got to be fun. I think is for the next generation, if we say go and sit in a room by yourself and think about the story of Ram and Sita, they're not going to do it because it's boring. And it's not supposed to be boring. I don't believe it's supposed to be joyous and fun.
It's a celebration.
Exactly. And I think that's probably what Lord Ram wanted it to be.
But so is it okay then, in that case, Sundar, to celebrate and to enjoy without actually doing any of the religious stuff?
Yeah, by saying that, we're going on the premise that doing spiritual things is actually boring, and therefore we need to do other things to make it fun. I would argue that actually, if you look at the Ramayana, you'll get adventure, you'll get romance, you'll get heroism, you'll get sacrifice, all these things that people go and pay money to see in the cinema, you'll find it in its perfection in the Ramayana and at Lord Ram. If you want to see superheroes, people go to see Batman and all these things. Well, you got Hanuman. If you want to see sacrifice, then you've got Jatayu. If you want to see dedication and selflessness and heroic warrior sort of ship, then you've got it in Lord Ram. So I think in and of itself, even if just the Ramayana in and of itself is actually a wonderful, wonderful narrative, which is absolutely captivating and actually quite fun in and of itself.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, but I think that we have to know what the meaning behind it is. It can't just be a superhero story.
No.
And as parents, because I have a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old, we have to be empowered and educated to know what is the meaning behind it in order to take it to the next generation.
Okay, well, you segued very nicely there to Aryan, who is 11 years old. Aryan, are you there? How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions, really. We're talking a lot about Diwali and also what it sort of means, particularly to the younger generations. You clearly yourself, it very much is in your conscious of what the meaning is. But for other people that other kids, do they understand what Diwali is?
I certainly think so, but sometimes we get a little overwhelmed through the material prospects of Diwali, and we sometimes forget a lot about the spiritual side of it.
Oh, really? What do you mean by that? What examples have you got for that? Do you just think people care too much about gifts?
Not necessarily gifts, but like the amusement, like the fireworks, and then all the songs, and then like the food and all of the material side. But as we've said before, it does get a little uninteresting. But but I think there should be two sides of Diwali, as we've said previously.
So obviously we had Sundar there saying a little bit about actually it's not just about the premise is that doing any of the religious practices and the customs, people are saying that's the boring stuff. Do you find it boring, or can you see the spiritual positives for that?
No, because the Ramayana is quite an engrossing tale, and sometimes in class, when we're doing PRE, we sometimes reenact the Ramayan, which makes it quite interesting. So we're learning we're learning the values and all the teachings of the Ramayan through a fun way.
Interesting. Thank you so much for your time there, Aryan. I'm going to come to Anup and Sunil on this, both of you, because we're talking about Diwali. A couple of weeks ago, we did a phone-in here on the programme talking about whether it's right to take time off for religious festivals like Diwali, like Eid, and whether that should be something that people are able to do. And a lot of people had a lot of opinions on this. What will you do for your children, first of all, Sonal?
So they were particularly upset this morning because they went to school as usual, and they felt that they should have been given a day off. But that doesn't mean that we're not giving it importance. So in the morning we had a morning meditation together, and we lit the divas, and they'd already done their rangolis. So I think the beauty of Hinduism, and Sundarji and I were talking about this before the show, is that it's a very pluralistic religion, and we can all celebrate it in a way that we feel is relevant to us and our lives. So we'll still go to the mandir, we'll still celebrate with our family in the evenings, we'll still do meditation, but just not during the school day.
And you don't think they should have a national holiday for Diwali?
No, I don't think that they should, because I don't feel the need for the government to give me a day off. I feel like I'm able to celebrate it. And then I think if they were to give us a national day off for Diwali, there should be a day off for Eid, there should be a day off for Hanukkah, there should be a day off for all of the religious festivals. It shouldn't just be us.
So then it becomes, where do you draw the line?
Exactly.
Anup, what do you think? And clearly for Aryan, was that a different case here?
Yeah, because Aryan goes to faith school,
Yes.
so he's got the day off, and then I joined him as well for half day. But for most of the parents, most of the Indian communities, those who are going to the mainstream schools, that becomes a bit difficult in terms of the job, in terms of this. So, but I appreciate that in most of the workplaces, if you plan properly, they will allow the parents to take off on the Diwali day. And it's the same thing with the kids as well. Like if you convey schools in there well in advance and say that we would like the day off, and I think most of the schools wouldn't mind that, because if it is like a 1 day off, and I think that's the. You talked about the national holiday. I do support that call. It should be a national holiday, because it's not a Hindu festival. It's a festival of light where everyone can join, everyone can share food. It can be like a national festival.
Well, what would you say to your point on the economy then, if we have another 6 public holidays for the rest of the world religions?
In India, we have 23 holidays, and still Indian economy is doing brilliant in compared to that. So more festivals, more people turning around, so possibly the productivity increases more by celebrating festivals, by remaining in the workplace. So that is the festivals, that festivity that brings to your life. Then the economy is the one of the aspects as well.
The thing is, I believe it's a lot of it is about the inner awareness, and so much of that doesn't need to be done on the outward. And the point about taking a holiday is about importance, giving it importance, giving weight to the day. And I do agree with that. I do agree with my children feeling that Diwali is just important as Christmas, because if you ask them, they would probably say, well, Christmas is more fun, and we have a whole week off for Christmas, and there's a build up. And so this year we had this build up on Dhanteras, Kali Chaudas, trying to build up to Diwali in the same way we do to Christmas. But I think it's so much more about the inner awareness, and that's not really relevant with taking days off work.
Sundar?
Yeah, I mean, whether you can get time off work, that's great. If you can't, then it's more of a case of what you do when you do have time, like in the evenings. So it's not so much the time factor, it's what you do with the time that you do have. So, for example, I'm at the Krishnavati school, so thankfully, luckily, we've got a couple of days off. But I know plenty of friends of mine that are working, and then they will just celebrate in the evening instead. They don't necessarily feel that they need a whole day off to do that.
Interesting, yeah. So I want to ask you, do we fully understand the 5 days, what they're about, and what's still going to remain? Are you worried that things are going to be lost in, say, 10 years or 20 years or 30 years?
Yeah, I think very much. Just from my experience, from people that I've spoken to, my travels across the country, all the time I get people that pull me over to the side and call me and text me saying, what do you think about this? Can you give me an explanation about this? I can try and explain it to my child. And I think that if the parents don't know, then there should be some facility for them to go to where they can educate themselves, or send their children to where their children can be educated. So say I'm a parent and I want to teach my child about Hinduism, then if I don't know, then where am I going to go?
Yeah. Well, as a, quite a young man and a Hindu priest yourself, do you feel like it's almost your duty to educate, to make sure people are well informed and that these traditions aren't lost?
Absolutely. I mean, my whole life is dedicated to that. In my day-to-day job, I teach at the Krishnavanti school. In the evenings, I run courses for the College of Vedic Studies in Leicester and Hare Krishna Temple in Watford and London and Birmingham, where we try to educate people, but just a couple of people doing it across the country. It should be, a global...
It should be in families as well.
Families, yeah. It should be on a much bigger scale, but something, I suppose, is better than nothing.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I co-wrote my book, Gita, The Battle of the Worlds, was exactly for this reason. It's because I wasn't able to explain the meanings of the Gita to my children in a relevant way. And what we're finding is that we've now got interested in animation because parents aren't even wanting to necessarily read books. The actual readership of books has dropped so much. So I think we also have to think along the lines of where is tech moving, where is the world moving, and to make sure that the channels that we're using to get these messages out are relevant to the kind of lives that people are living.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's bring back in Ariane, 11-year-old. Ariane there, who's in Leicester at the moment, listening. Ariane, what do you actually know then about, all 5 days of Diwali? What do you actually know about it?
I personally think I don't know as much as I should do, or for my age, because I don't think we've covered the topic enough, because I don't think one term is enough to cover the whole prospect of Diwali.
And do you think that's something that you will learn, or that you want to learn about?
I really want to learn about it, but whether I will learn about it is just I'm not sure, it's just a matter.
And I can see your face there, Sundar, a little bit, hearing someone there who's so bright, so energetic, so, enthusiastic about wanting to learn, but then at the same time admitting that they don't themselves.
Yeah, of course. I mean, with this topic of Diwali, there's so much to learn. I mean, with Aryan at the Krishnavanti school, we covered the whole summer term, so practically 12 weeks just on the Ramayana. And even then, there was so much more that we could have covered, which we didn't. So it's a case of, maybe giving bite size, maybe not covering every single aspect of Hinduism, but picking a few and going into them deeper. So depth rather than...
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've talked a lot about the commercialization of it. We've theorized a lot about Diwali, but as we've all said, it's also about fun. It's also about celebrating, being with family, and it's also about food as well. Tell me, I'll start with you if you don't mind, Subtle. Tell me, what are you guys going to be cooking? What are you going to be eating? What are you going to be doing with your children?
I'm lucky my parents and my brother and my bhabhi are hosting a big get-together at their house this evening, so we'll be, I imagine, eating all the traditional food, and I did hear that they were going to be making fresh jalebi on the day, and I actually am going to be visiting my sister-in-law, Mira, who's just opened up a cafe at Tri Yoga, and she's doing healthy Diwali mithai for all the diabetics out there, so she's doing kind of quinoa bites and things like that, so looking forward to having lots of delicious but healthy food as well.
So you're also going to be more healthy. What about you, Sundar? Traditional?
I'm actually going to try a vegan one this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A couple of friends have recently gone vegan, so we're going to try a vegan Diwali meal.
So what's going to be in that?
I think there's pizza, lasagna, so it's actually going to be Western dishes, not
really?
Not your traditional Indian ones.
Controversial there.
Yeah, and then what they do is, just to connect that with the spiritual, is that they then offer that vegetarian food to the Lord, to Lord Ram, and then it becomes prasad. So it's also like spiritual food, but it's just delicious at the same time. So we're going to go for a bit of a vegan.
Can you imagine pizza being
vegan pizza?
I know.
Never had it, but
wow, fantastic.
It'll be interesting.
And also, Anup, Aryan, what's your favourite thing about Diwali? What's your favourite Diwali food? What do you look forward to?
I quite like the fireworks at the end of the day. So
fair enough.
So I quite like to go down to Belgrave Road and then like the fireworks. There's just like a giant get-together where we all celebrate together. So it's nice.
Sounds lovely. And is there anything you're looking forward to eating?
I really like jalebi and chakli. I don't know why.
Well, no, I think everyone
No,
can
right.
perhaps agree with you there as well. Listen, it's been lovely having you all on the programme. Happy Diwali, and I hope you have a lovely celebration this week. Thank you very much to my guests, Sunil Sachdev Patel, Hindu priest Sundar Madhavadas, and also Anup with 11-year-old Aryan, who's definitely been the star of the programme today. It's 11:36 here on The Big Debate.